first of all, what I've been vaping recently, actually not been using my K-Fun. I've been using a 306 dripping atomizer on my Nemesis clone. So today what I mostly want to do, my big goal, is to talk to you about the Nemesis clone. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is exactly the same as a regular Nemesis, as, you know, every single reviewer is going to tell you. And, you know, obviously I'm real late to the review game on this, as with most things that I review, but, you know, my intent is not really to be the first one to show you something. My intent and hope is that I'll be able to tell you something that somebody else hasn't told you already. So yeah. The Nemesis clone. So overall, I think it is extremely good. It is probably one of it is the best mechanical that you're gonna get from China, and mine is a kind of brushed finish. Let me focus this here real quick. It's a little bit difficult to see on camera, but it is not completely shiny. It is brushed, and it doesn't actually come like that. You can't get this finish. The person that I bought it from, I got it secondhand. They did this for me before they shipped it out, and I like it because, you know, it's unique, and from, you know, further away, I'm not going to refocus, so let's not do that. But from further away, you really can't see the logo on there, and even up close, you know, you kind of got to get it at the right angle. So that makes me feel a little bit better about having a clone. So I'm cool with that. Yeah, the first thing I want to show you, and this I actually realized a couple nights ago, and, you know, I was never really, I had a GP Pass before, and I was more a fan of that real small lock ring that's like down real close to the edge of the switch, blends in a lot nicer. And when this is locked, you know, you've got this big old gap up here, which I wasn't really a fan of until I realized that this is actually the best locking ring design that I've ever seen on a mechanical. Because you take it, put it in your hand, flick it like that, and it's closed. You set it down. It's entirely one-handed operation. You know, you're vaping, got to put it down, flick it with your pinky, now it's locked, and you are good to go. And I haven't really seen another mechanical where you can do that. Some of them have designs in their locking rings where, you know, like it juts out like the new GP PAP switch, so you can set it down and it won't actually rest on the button part, but it'll rest on, you know, those extrusions. And that's a good design too, but I think the single-handed pinky operation is just incredible. That is very smart, and I have to give Atmo Mixani mad credit for that, and not China. They just ripped it off. So I'm gonna adjust the camera real quick, and we'll get up close. We'll break it down. I'll show you, you know, all the stuff on the inside that you've already seen, and then, you know, we'll talk about what I think of it. 350 tube, 650 tube, 14 500 tube, and or 650 with a kick ring going on there, and then you have, you know, your top cap here, and then this kind of weird useless ring right here. I haven't really figured out what this is for, because it does not fire with it on in any configuration, but like I don't have a kick. So, you know, you might need it for a kick in 18650 mode, I don't know. Or, you know, if you have an atomizer with a long 510 connector and, you know, your button doesn't screw all the way on or whatever, you might need to put this in just to give it a little bit of space. I don't know, but I've never used this. Alright, so let's talk about the top cap first. You have adjustable airflow right here, and there's two little dots right there. You line those up wide open, you offset it a little bit, and, you know, you got your airflow control. Nothing that I have uses this, so I can't say how well it works or not, but I assume that it works. And but that will only work for things that draw their air from the 510 connection. The atomizer, the 306 atomizer, has a sealed, well, you use an adapter that I'm going to talk about in another video, but it actually draws air from up here. So even though you would think that this kind of setup would use the airflow control, it does not. And the K-Fun, which is my regular vape, definitely doesn't. You got silver-plated contacts. They work very well. I can definitely say that the Nemesis performs wonderfully. The Nemesis clone, sorry, performs wonderfully. You will not be dissatisfied with it. And I came from a Zen DX650 before, which had a terrible voltage drop. Like, we're talking of a full volt with like a 0.8 ohm coil on it, which is just terrible, like unacceptable. That 510 cap that he uses on there is not even worth it. If you're gonna get a Zen, make sure you get the hybrid. So, little sidebar there. Alright, so there's your top section there. Now we have this ring, and like I said, this ring you will be using with a 18650 and a kick, or a 18490 battery. So if you're going to use an 18490 battery, you take that off, you put this on, and then that's your 18490 configuration. And if you're going to use an 18350, you just run like this with the top cap directly on there. Nice and small, very compact, but unfortunately it's an 18350, so you're not going to get that much battery life. So, you know, obviously the battery that you choose is going to have to be based on what kind of vape you like, what kind of resistance you have on there, and then, you know, whether you're okay with carrying around 3 batteries with you all day. And then we can take the button off. I really like the button design on here. And, you know, this speaks to the original Nemesis as well, because it is the same design. But rather than having the button have the actual button be on the outside of the mod, it screws onto the inside. I mean, obviously every button is going to screw onto the inside, but the way this works to adjust is unique in that. Because no matter what battery size you have in there, you can eliminate rattle just by tightening up the button. And I really like that. I think that is a great design. It's much better than on the PAPs that I had before, where, you know, you're adjusting the pin on the top, putting the top back on. Oh, there's a gap. You know, adjust it a little bit more, put the top back on. Oh, now it rattles, and, you know, you do that 50 times. And then you change batteries, and every battery is a little bit different. You got to go through the whole process again. This, you just throw the battery in, tighten up the switch until it stops, and you're good to go. Currently, with this switch, this gap here is much larger. Not much, but larger than it should be, because I actually have a spacer in here. Because I threw on the 306 and I realized, the 510 connection on this is pretty shallow. So when you tighten the switch down, it actually ends up hitting the lock ring before it fires. So I threw a spacer in there, but then I realized that on the particular 510 adapter that I have, there's actually this little ring here that, as long as it's not juicy and I can get a grip on it, it comes off, and then your 510 connector will be longer, so you don't need to throw a spacer in there. That was going to be a negative until, you know, that ended up coming apart on me one time. I'm like, I could just take that off. But, you know, I haven't really taken the switch apart since then. I got a pair of pliers here, so I'll do it right now. Why not? Okay. So, you know, this has grippy things on it, so, you know, you don't really need to worry about slipping on the pin and stripping off the silver plating, because it's only like microns thin, as all plating is, so you don't really want to scratch that up. And I have magnets in my switch, so they're probably going to go everywhere, and then you're going to watch me try and put it back together. But alright, there we go. Magnets. That brass pin there, that's what I assume to be the key as to why the switch works so well. And then you have this brass thing that actually makes contact with the tube and the switch on the inside to complete the circuit. And then the inside of the switch we have here, and there's your vent holes there. So it is vented, it is safe. You know, you won't really have an issue with it. Also, on here underneath the lock ring are vents as well. So, when it's up, I feel like that's not going to seal it sufficiently to, cause your battery to explode in your pocket if, it happens to vent and there's nowhere for, the gases to go. But when it's locked and in your pocket, those holes are definitely open, so you're safe there as well. Alright, so let's put this switch back together. I got my magnet there. Put this here, line up that little notch there. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's definitely a notch there. And you line that up with the notch on the button pin, and then you drop in the little brass barrel pin thing, just like that. And actually, yeah, that's gonna pop off. Let me take out this spacer real quick, because that's really the main reason I opened this up. I just made this out of a little CVS keychain card cut out around the keychain hole, and then threaded that. Not threaded it, but kind of stuck it on here. It's definitely tight. It's a little bit difficult to get off. Bear with me a second here. There we go. Okay, so the spacer's out. There's all the switch parts. Let's put it back together. So again, you take your brass outer part of the switch, or inner part, whatever, line it up, drop the little pin in, just like that. And then you take your connector contact there and just screw it in. And the setup is very similar. If you're using the springs that it comes with, you would just put a spring underneath the switch pin rather than the magnets there. I like the magnets because the resistance that it gives. This spring to me just feels cheap and squishy. I don't know if the Nemesis spring, the real Nemesis spring, feels better, but the clone just doesn't feel very nice. So, magnets. Alright, yeah. Okay. Let's run a 18650 because that's what I like. Put that there. I guess I'm going to have to get that 510 connector apart now that I took out that spacer. Good thing I have pliers. Juicy. Yeah, so this little ring right here just comes off. And now there's a longer 510 pin on there. And that will work perfectly due to the adjustable switch. Just like that. Alright, so how I do this is when I take my battery out, I usually don't take, sometimes I do, but more often than not I just crack it right in the middle. And then you have, this with your top cap on it. And then, you connect your atomizer, screw it on there. And then go inside with your pinky and just unscrew that so you can screw it down all the way. Just like that until it stops. And then reach in and tighten up that center pin there. So now you have a solid connection there. And then you take this, put your tube back together, throw in your battery. And here's something that I like too. The tube on here has a very fine tolerance, so when you drop your battery in, it actually goes in smooth instead of just falling in like larger tubes would. Very smooth the way the air escapes. And then you just put your switch on there, and hopefully this will fire. Yep. And lock it. Boop, good to go. Put it down. So, just to recap real quickly, I definitely went over everything and probably a little bit more already, but yeah, for under $60, Nemesis clone, you really can't go wrong if you're looking for a good mechanical and you don't have the money or the luck to find a real one. So yeah, you should probably pick one up. Vape on.